On top story tonight, Ghana Pentecostal Council says it is on top story tonight. Ghana Pentecostal Council says it is unimpressed by conflicting government reaction to Joy News investigations that revealed political party militia operating at Osu Castle.
The responses has not so much impressed me. Whether it was a security zone or not, I will not allow my house to be taken over by somebody to run his own personal business. Also, there was inconsistency in the fact that they said they were driven away in October. By December, there was also a program there. So all these things tells us that we are not secure.
We have the latest on the death threats against Manasseh Azuri and bring you details in a statement issued by the Ghana Museums and Monuments Board backing government's claim that the castle is not a security zone.
This is Top Story with Evans Mensah.
And Top Story is always brought to you by Bond Savings and Loans. Your success, our passion, gassing the nation. Build up Vodafone. The future is exciting, ready. A nationwide medical health insurance, your healthcare family. It has been 4 days since Joy News broke the news about the existence of a pro-MPP militia group that had operated from the former seat of government, the Osu Castle. The reactions have been pouring in, and tonight the Ghana Pentecostal Council is wading into the matter on the day it emerged that the chief investigator, Manasseh Azuri, who have received several death threats since he led the investigation that uncovered the operations of the pro-MPP militia group, the I Group, and its operations from the castle. We have more on that shortly, but first listen to the president of the Ghana Pentecostal and Charismatic Council, Reverend Professor Paul Frimpong Manso, who says they are unimpressed with the reaction that they've received, or the statement that has elicited from government so far.
The responses has not so much impressed me. Whether it was a security company, whether it was vigilante or not, whether it was a security zone or not, I will not allow my house or my office or my room to be taken over by somebody to run his own personal business. For over 2 months, they are alleging August to October, and that national security will not be able to get them. Also, there was inconsistency in the fact that they said they were driven away in October. By December, there was also a program there. So all these things tells us that we are not secure. I will ask people in government, especially the national security, should be very vigilant and always be on top of things. And of course, the responses too were not the best to me. Saying that, at least it has opened our eyes. The state apparatus, the state machinery, the government should be up and doing in terms of these things, because I've said that even though they may not be a vigilante group or whatever, it was still, we can still not be justified to have those people being there. And I believe that it should be investigated and those people involved should be punished to deter others from doing it.
Well, he says they are also appalled that the NPP and the NDC have failed to meet as the president had directed last month when he addressed the Parliament in the State of the Nation address, and that they are committed to galvanizing the rest of Christendom and their followers and members in church to demonstrate against the political parties.
We asked the government in power, the lead opposition party, NDC. These two parties are the parties that are harboring or incubating or sponsoring or managing vigilante groups. We came out clearly in no uncertain terms that these two parties should disband their vigilantes groups. We had a healthy response from His Excellency the President during his SONA address. He inviting the NDC for them to sit together within a week and disband it. The NDC also came out that they will want it to be disbanded, but for them, the President should involve other mediators like the Peace Council and the clergy. We, the GPCC, came out to say that we are even available if we will be involved. But we've seen that it has turned out to be rhetoric, accusation and counter-accusation. The president wants them to meet. The NDC says unless you bring Peace Council or civil society. And for nearly 1 month, nothing has happened. We are appalled. We are discouraged. We don't see the way clear. But for the GPCC, our timelines are intact. We are waiting. It's now 1 month gone, 2 more months to come. And within the next 2 months, if we don't see vigilantism disbanded, like we said, we will take to the streets and make a peaceful protest across the nations, from the north to the south and east to the west, and tell our people to reject any political party that harbors and promotes vigilantism. We are over 8 million, and for this time, we are serious, and we will not allow politicians to display any politics on us. The power belongs to us. We have given it to them, and we will make sure that vigilantism never succeeds. It is good news that these two lead parties have said they abhor it, they don't support it, they hate it. What is preventing the MPP, whether the NDC will come on the table or not, to say that from today, we don't want it, we don't accept it, and it should be disbanded? And what is preventing the NDC from coming out today to say that whether we are bringing mediators or no mediators, we trust in the national security operatives, we trust in the Electoral Commission, and we are disbanding it now. Either now or never.
And shortly, we'll bring you the position as expressed in a statement by the Ghana Museums and Tourism Board. We'll also hear some interesting clip that we've taken from Brian Champon, the Minister of State in charge of National Security's testimony before the Emil Short Commission, which wrapped up his public hearings last week. Some interesting comments he made there that we'll be bringing to you and asking a few questions of that. But as I've been saying to you, today it emerged that there have been death threats against my colleague Manasseh Zuriawuni, of course, who led the investigations that uncovered the existence of this pro-MPP militia group at the castle, which is a former seat of government. The Criminal Investigations Department of the police say it is investigating those death threats. The threats come in the wake of the Joy News' latest work, which exposed the presence of the group, the DI group of the Christian Castle Osu. We will go into that shortly, but listen to details of that investigation and the death threats. My colleague Malik Dabu interacted with my colleague MFR Apau on this on midday.
We do know that these threats are coming from persons who have been affected by the documentary. We can state that this is neither sanctioned by the government or the New Patriotic Party. Nonetheless, we do know that some people have made these threats. The information that we have gathered has been given to the Criminal Investigations Department. And in fact, before we sent our information, the CID itself said they picked up intelligence on this and they are following up to assess the seriousness and the veracity of some of these threats on the life of our colleague.
On the story itself, there's been reactions from the government and there appears to be some contradictions in the position the government has on this matter. What have we spotted so far?
One of the fundamental contradictions that we have noted is the one relating to when the guys were evicted from the castle. Remember that we were told by the Information Ministry that the eviction took place in October 2018. But now we have Brian Champon, who is the Minister of State at the Ministry of National Security, stating that they were aware of a party which was held by these guys in December 21st to be exact, in the castle. Now, if the people were evicted in October, how could they have access to the same place from which they were evicted in December 21st, on which they held this party? And indeed, in our documentary and in our analysis, we had pointed out that they had this party in December and they had celebrated what they had done amongst themselves in December. So the Brian Champon statement confirms what we gathered, which was in stark contradiction to the Information Ministry's claim that the people were evicted in October 2018. One of the other things was that Brian Champon in his Facebook post actually said that the guys were jobless, they were harmless job seekers, and yet on the people's own website, which we know has been taken down now, they said that they are a security company providing security services to companies. And again, we have pointed out that our checks indicate this company was not licensed in accordance with law to undertake the kind of services that they said they were providing. Again, we pointed out government has said that national security was not aware of the presence of these guys at the castle. But Brian Acheampong in his Facebook post says that national security was indeed aware, and also stated that attempts were made on 3 separate occasions to evict them, and that on the 3rd occasion arrests were actually made. This again is in stark contradiction to what we had been told earlier regarding the presence of these guys there. And again, the last point about they being harmless, if they were that harmless, why did it take the whole national security 3 attempts to be able to evict them from this area?
And that's my colleague Malik Dabo there, of course, raising some of the contradictions that we have seen in government reaction from the Information Ministry to the Brian Acheampong, who is the Minister of State in charge of national security. And as you've observed earlier, the Ghana Pentecostal Council has also observed same. They're not impressed by the reactions that we've received so far. But most importantly is the revelations that Manasseh Asiri-Awuni has been a subject of death threats. We'll hear from the Ghana Journalists Association shortly, but I'm joined on the line right now by Suleiman Abrahama. He's Executive Director of the Media Foundation for West Africa. Mr. Abrahama, we're hearing these death threats. The CID says you're looking into it. Your reaction?
Well, first of all, I would say that I am not surprised that we are hearing about these death threats, because certainly this is such an important story that takes courageous journalism or a courageous journalist to expose. And that is why all of us have commended multimedia and have commended Manasseh Asiri-Awuni for being able to meticulously document this important revelation and bringing it out in a highly professional way. And I'm also very, very satisfied with the way multimedia has handled the discussions and the conversations since the revelations were made. And I say I'm not surprised because, first of all, there have been instances where people, have received death threats, and as a country, we just hear about it, we just talk about it this way, and nothing happens. And therefore, people are encouraged to think that, well, we can threaten the person and nothing would happen. I'm happy that, again, multimedia has taken the right step of reporting the incident to the police. And I'm happy to hear that the police themselves had said, well, they had picked up signals, intelligence about some of these issues, and they are investigating. I think what is important at this stage is to highlight the fact that, look, this is a matter that the president, on a number of occasions in the last 1 month has spoken about it. If the president needed any evidence that this exists, this kind of practice or vigilante, or if you like, call it militia, exists within his own party, I think Manasseh has abundantly provided that evidence. And therefore, I think the president himself should take interest in the safety and security of Manasseh. It shouldn't just be the police, as we always would do. That is not to say that I don't trust the police or I don't think the police are professional to do their job. But I think that it would be important for the president himself to make a statement on this particular issue and to declare his, tacit support for Manasseh for bringing out something for which he had set up a commission to sit over 1 month, invite people, and so on and so forth. This is an evidence for the president to know that this exists. And indeed, again, this should provide evidence to the president that if he had some confidence in the security apparatus of the country, then perhaps he should begin to have, a second opinion. Because in less than 1 month from the Ayawaso West Wogon Commission to this particular incident, we have had persons in charge of our security, persons in government, contradicting each other, and at the end of the day, exposing themselves and exposing what I would say is their incompetence in dealing with the security issues of this country. It is either they are incompetent in dealing with the security issues, or it is just that, well, they really do not care about the dire implications of some of these issues for the future of this country, for the stability of our country, and for the democracy that we all yearn to stabilize. And so I think the president should take an interest in the safety and security of Manasseh. I think the police must do a professional job, and I trust that they will do that.
I'm grateful that you joined us on this. Suleiman Abrahama but Mr. Abrahama, there's the final thing I need to pick your brain on, because I mean we pride ourselves as a society on being one of the beacons on the continent when it comes to press freedom. And however, we're in a country where, as we've seen, each time a journalist does work such as this, you get death threats. People from the party almost gang up on you. There is a mob mentality split down the middle. Either you are NDC or you are MPP. And we see that unfolding. We also see some in subtle, attempts to encourage that from some leading figures of both parties. This have been going on for a while. And we've seen in the last few years, your outfit catalog a number of these beyond death threats to proper assault. Of course, we are still talking about Swale, who has been shot and killed. What sort of society then are we? When we talk about believing in press freedom, being an example to the world and to Africa when it comes to press freedom, and yet journalists cannot do their independent work, hold government accountable to the people without expecting that the state machinery sometimes will come at them, sadly, or sometimes elements who support the government will come at you and threaten you. What's your comment on that observation?
Well, I think that what we are witnessing is just the result of years of impunity over crimes against journalists. We built that culture to the point where people feel, as for a journalist, you can beat them up, you can slap them, you can seize their equipment, and nothing will happen. And it is not just within this government or within an MPP administration. I mean, the NDC, during their time, you saw what happened. There was a presidential staffer who abused a journalist. We did all we could to say that, look, this is an opportunity for the president to step in and demonstrate his commitment. And the president, at that time, himself is a journalist. He's a member of the Ghana Journalists Association, and nothing was done. And
also, we also saw the unprecedented scenario where the government officially boycotted a media house, Joy FM, because we had done a story that, hit at the core of the presidency.
Well, I think even for that one, Multimedia did what any credible, any independent, and any respected media organization should do. If you're a government and you say, look, we don't want to deal with you, well, at the end of the day, it's the government that will lose, because you need a platform to let people know, what you are doing, what your accomplishments are, and why they should vote for you. So I think on that occasion, Multimedia did the right thing, and I believe that they lived to regret that, and if ever they were to come back to power, I don't think they will repeat that. But the important point I am making is about the culture of impunity that we've tolerated over the years when journalists are beaten. And I think, again, this provides an opportunity for the state to react in a way that would clearly demonstrate that, look, we wouldn't tolerate any acts of indiscipline, whether it be death threats or even ordinary threats on a journalist who has done something that is so important for the development of this country. And that is what I think the government can do. Without that, I think it's business as usual, and we can only hope that at the end of the day, journalists would still have the confidence to do independent and credible work, as you guys at Multimedia and journalist Manasseh Azure-Awuni has been doing. And we can only hope that through our work, we would continue to sensitize the populace, get them to know at what point they should vote out a particular government or retain a particular government. And I believe that's the struggle that we have to endure. But we have no choice but to endure it, since we've chosen for ourselves to be journalists.
I'm grateful that you joined us, Suleiman Abrahama, Executive Director of the Media Foundation for West Africa. The Ghana Journalists Association have also waded into this. Listen to Alpha Mono, who's the president of the association.
I think Manasseh deserves commendation, and Joy FM for having the courage to come up with such a piece at a time when, it's very difficult, because look at the backlash from certain supporters, even from journalists. And it tells you that, you need a tougher skin and professional dexterity to do what Manasseh did. The debate continues that as a nation, we have a responsibility imposed by necessity to deal with vigilantism once and for all. All of us are at risk, not only political actors, also journalists, because we go out to report and we encounter them. But what happened at I also was in Wagum, the shooting incidents. Any journalist could have fallen victim of stray bullet, but thank God no journalist was hit. So must we allow the worst to happen before we act? The answer is no. So we commend Joy FM for the campaign it has launched. Until all of us ought to lend our support to this campaign to rid our country of thuggery and excessive force in our body politic.
And that's the president of the Ghana Journalists Association, that is Afomoni. And we've been trying to trace back to the Ayawaso Short Commission of Inquiry when Brian Champon appeared before it and gave testimony. There's some references he made to some individuals that he says were part of national security at the castle that we were interested in. And I want to bring that play back for you very briefly for you to listen to what he said there. No conclusions about this, but make up your own mind about what he said. This is Minister of State at the presidency in charge of national security, Brian Champon.
National security, or they part of the security structure? Very well, Honorable, for now, let's keep it as part of the national security. Yes, they are part of national security. You have some here at the castle, you saw them. Very well. And they are permanent employees, yes, of the national security. Yes, all those, some of them that you see here in black and white, here at the castle, Troy been here for a couple of days, are all part of the national security operatives, and they are employees of the outfit, or operatives of the outfit.
So that's Brian Champon there. Just for the avoidance of doubt, we transcribe what he said. He says, yes, they are part of national security. We have some of them here at the castle. You saw them, and they are permanent employees of the national security. Some of them that you see in black and white here at the castle. Sure, you have been here for a couple of days and are all part of the national security operative, and they are employees of the outfit or operatives of the outfit. My colleague, Kudryang Singh, has been listening to that as well because of his reference to the castle and the people in black and white, etc. We have a few questions to ask of that.
Absolutely. And Evans, I suppose the first and most important question is, who are these people in black and white at the Osu Castle to whom the minister refers as permanent employees of the national security? Who is he talking about? Yeah. Now, to give it some context, we all know that Brian Champon over the weekend put up a post on Facebook where he purported to explain the purpose of this DI group. This is what he said about them. He said, indeed, we are privy to every facet of their operations, which primarily involves 1. Soliciting young unemployed persons. 2. Writing to companies and agencies for job openings. 3. Seeking to place their young unemployed clients into employment opportunities. And 4. Charging them a fee for their services. I suppose it's curious that the Minister of State at the Office of the President in charge of national security says he knows everything about the operation of this group, but failed to mention what the group itself says they do. And when you go to their website, which is now been taken down from the internet, but what they said on their About Us page of the website was that the I group was conceived out of a growing need for more efficient jobs and security service in Ghana. They went on to describe personnel who are experienced, well-trained by retired military officers with specialist backgrounds in human resource and security industry. So this security element is something that Brian Champon, who claims to know everything about this group, didn't happen to mention in his post describing the every facet of their operations. He also didn't appear to know that this group had provided security at an event in December, on the 7th of December, an event that was attended by the president and the vice president.
In fact, the IGP was also there.
Indeed. So as a minister of national security, there would be an expectation.
We have raw video evidence of them moving from the castle and driving to the event grounds to provide protection for the event, and the president was there, so indirectly, I mean, that's...
Absolutely. And if you bear in mind that Brian Achampong gave testimony in front of the commission in February and refers to men in black and white who he says are part of the national security apparatus, this simply raises more and more questions.
Ours are questions that we're asking of that. It would be good to get some answers. We're trying to get government, spokespeople to try and put some of these questions to them, but we've been unsuccessful in getting any clarity on these questions. But we'll continue to ask the questions, and there are some more questions coming out tonight from the museums and
Monuments Board.
Yeah, and they've issued a statement signed by Kingsley Ofosu Ntiamwa, who is the acting executive director. What does he say?
Evans, it says the Museums and Monuments Board has taken notice of an ongoing public debate as to whether or not the Osu Castle is a museum or a security installation. It goes on to say, for the avoidance of any doubt, the board wishes to provide clarity on this issue as follows. That on March 5, 2017, the President of the Republic, President Akufo-Addo, publicly declared and inaugurated the Osu Castle as a presidential museum of leadership and governance. It also says the Osu Castle, since this act above stated by the President of the Republic, has and to date remains a museum. And the Osu Castle is not a security installation. The military and security sensitivities associated with it have since been withdrawn. It now has a similar status as the Cape Coast and Elmina castles. And it goes on to say that visitors, tourists, and the general public are allowed to visit as and when they please.
And let's say we booked him to talk. He agreed to talk to us, correct?
Yes, he agreed.
That is the Kingsley Ofosu Ntiamwa, acting executive director. He agreed to talk to us, but what happened?
We called him and he dropped the line, and we've been trying since, and he has not been picking up the phone calls.
Because he had a few questions. He says this is now all tourists, visitors, and general public can allow to visit. But could you read their object correctly on your website? Can a security service go to any of the castles that we have under the Museums and Monuments Board and start operating from there and training their clients from there? Bringing in ex-military officers to come and train them and give them instructions, etc. Can that happen without the authority?
Well, Evans said the last few minutes we've been checking the Ghana Museums and Monuments Board website. That's the ghghanamuseum.org, and it lists some museums that are currently under the board. And let me just run through the 8 main museums that is state on their website: the National Museum Accra, the Museum of Science and Technology, the Volta Regional Museum, the Cape Coast Castle Museum, the Upper East Regional Museum, Bolgatanga, the St. George's Castle, Elmina Castle Museum, the Asha Fort Museum, the Fort Apollonia Museum of Nzima Culture and History, and Fort San Antonio Museum, Axim. These are the 8 main museums that they list on their own website, the ghanamuseums.org, and curiously, it doesn't include the Osu Castle or the Chrisambol Castle.
Okay, so let's give them the benefit of the doubt and say, according to their statement, they said on the 5th of March 2017, the President of the Republic, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo, declared and inaugurated the Osu Castle as a... So let's say 5th of March to 5th of 2017, that's 2 years.
Right.
5th of March 2017 to 5th of March
2019.
2 years.
2 years.
So give them the benefit of the doubt that they haven't updated their website in 2 years. And so they don't have the Chrisambol Castle as part of the list of castles and monuments under them. And that is why we really wanted to speak to Kingsley Ofosu Ntiamwa, so he can clarify that you have an official website that I assume you update. And yet on your website, as we've just indicated, you claim that this Chrisambol Castle is one of those under you because the President designated it so on 5th of March 2017. How come 2 years on, it hasn't reflected on your official website? It's possible that they haven't updated it in 2 years. That's just a possibility.
But Evans, as of a temporary exhibition, Architectural Heritage of Ghana, 20th December 2018 to 20th March 2019, there was a post made on the website about this particular event, the temporary exhibition at the National Museum, which was under the theme Architectural Heritage of Ghana, opened on December 20, 2018. So they have been, doing some activity on the website, actually updating stories and press releases on the website as most recent as 20th December 2018. That's just last year.
It's possible that's I'm just doing the devil's advocate here, right? Because they're not here to speak, and it's unfortunate because we called them. The man was on the phone when I started the top story. The line dropped. I'm not even saying he dropped it. The line dropped. We've been calling him. He's been ringing. He's not picking, and so these are questions that still needs to be answered.
Absolutely, and you are being fair to him, but I suppose the question that was not answered in that statement is the one that would occupy minds. And that question is, if Christiansburg Castle is under their jurisdiction and administration, then does the Museum and Monuments Board know anything about this organization, DI Group, that has been operating on a facility that they claim to be under their jurisdiction for at least 2 years? What do they know about this group? Did they give them permission to be there? Are they aware of attempts by police and
to remove them?
Yeah. Are they aware of the fact that they returned and held a party on the grounds of their facility?
Yeah, these are fundamental questions, and I just also wondered. So this is part of your domain. Is it okay if I set up a security service? Can I just walk in there and start operating from there?
Especially one that doesn't have a license.
To operate. These are questions that we still hope that Kingsley Ofosu Ntiamwa can provide some answers to, as he agreed to do before we came on air. But that's his top story. News Night starts right now.